Hello, my name is Rickard, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to take a day image and turn it into a night image using Optics by Boris FX. This video is sponsored by Boris FX. They're an Academy Award-winning visual effects software creator who recently put out a suite of filters for Photoshop and Lightroom called Optics. Now, Optics also works as a standalone program, and if you don't have it, you can purchase it at a 25% discount using the discount code nuclei-25. I have included that in the description of this video, along with a link to purchase the software. Also, if you want to follow along and do this tutorial as I'm doing it, I've included a link for that in the description as well. All right, let's get started. All right, to begin, I'm going to open this file that I got from Unsplash, and it's a photo of an old street during the day on a cloudy day. And what we're going to do in this tutorial is turn this day scene into a night scene using Optics. So first thing I'm going to do is just make a copy of my layer. I can do that by dragging it down to the new layer icon down here. I can also do it using Command or Control J. All right, with that done, we're going to go up to Filter, Boris FX, and click on Optics. All right, so this is the Optics interface. Here we have our original, and this is our first filter layer. So Optics does support layers of filters stacked on top of each other, which allows you to create complex visual effects with a single filter, which is really nice. So first things first, I want to change the color of this scene to be a nighttime scene. So it's going to be much cooler and darker. Now, in order to sell the illusion that this is a nighttime scene, I also want to have some kind of an incandescent light in here. Now, unfortunately, I do not have any street lights in this scene. So what I'm going to do is use this little hole here and this kind of light that you can see here, this warm light, and I'm going to really accentuate that in the composite to make this look like it's a night scene. So to do that, I have to mask this out. Now, Optics does support masks. You can add a mask to your layer by clicking on this icon here, and then you'll see you have various options for creating a mask. You can make a gradient mask, a spot mask, which is essentially a radial gradient, or you can use paths, kind of a snap tool, easy mask, a selection, which means selecting a luminosity or color, or just painting your mask. For this, I think I'm going to use the path tool, just because there's a lot of straight lines here, so using the path tool should be a good option. So let's click on that. And what we're going to do is just click, and that's going to add points. We can zoom in. And you'll notice that it's creating like these splines. So to avoid that, what you can do is hold down Command, is you can select these points by holding down Shift and clicking on them, and then right mouse click and put them on corner. And there you can see it's fixed that problem. And let's keep going around. If I hold down the space bar, that's going to give me the hand, allowing me to move the image around. The behavior of the hand is a bit different than Photoshop. You don't have to click. As soon as you push the space bar down, you're immediately activating the hand tool. So unlike Photoshop, you don't have to click to use the hand tool, which gets a little confusing at times. I do hope in a future version of Optics, they change that behavior to be more consistent with pretty much every other software. All right, let's go to corner there. Let's make this one a corner as well. these. And that looks quite good. Let's zoom back out. That should work. All right, so now with this selected, as you can see, the white part is what filter is going to be applied. So if I want to apply the filter to everything but that, I can click on this here, and that's going to invert my mask, as you can see there. So now if I go here, I want to search for the day to night filter. I could go through and look for all of them, but we have this handy little search function here. So if I type in night, you can see right away I get the day for night. I can click on that. Let's go ahead and zoom out. If I click on this, it's going to fit it inside my canvas area. And here you can see kind of the intensity of these options. And as you click on them, you can see that this area is not being affected, which is just what I want. So I'm going to use number 4. This has a little bit too much magenta for me. I want it to be more of a cyan night. So I'm going to go to parameters, and you can see here that I can change the moonlight color. So I'm going to click on that, just move it a little bit more towards cyan and hit OK. I can also change other parameters here, such as if I wanted it to be a little bit darker, or if I wanted it to have a little more contrast. So you can always adjust those things here. Next, I want to lighten up this area here. So I'm going to add another layer, which I can do by clicking on this little icon. And I'm going to copy this mask by just dragging it up to here. And then on this mask with it selected there, I'm going to uninvert it. So now this is applying just to this area here. And I want to do a curve on that. So I'm going to go back to my search and type in curve, click on that. And now you can see I have the ability to curve this area. And I want to make it brighter to give the appearance that there's a light source inside here. I also want it to be a little bit more yellow. So what I can do is go to my blue and just pull down that. That's going to make it a little more yellow. And also go to red and just make it a little more warm. So just about like that. It's kind of giving the effect that I want. Now I also want to see a little bit of a light source in there. So let's go ahead and add one more layer. And for this, I'm going to use a flare. So if I go to light and scroll through here, you can see I have a lens flare option. So I'm going to click on that. And I want to pick something that looks kind of like a outdoor warm light. So I'm going to just scroll through these, find one that I like. Let's see here. This one is kind of what I want, but I don't want such a strong hotspot. This has a little too much rays for my liking. So maybe I'll just use this one here. So let's select that. I'm going to move it in place. So right about there. I don't need all these extra flare elements. So if I go to parameters, you'll see here you have the option for others. I can just take down the opacity on that. That's going to leave me just my basic rays and hotspot, which is what I want there. I also want to take down the scale of the entire flare. So I can do that here. And I want to drag it down so it's just peeking out from underneath. And then I'm going to copy this mask on here. So there you can see it's just a little light source there. Now that I've seen that, I can also actually make it even smaller. So something like this. Also, having done this, I think my curve is a little too strong. So if I want to go and adjust a previous one, if I just click on it, it's actually just showing me this previous state. So in order to edit this one, you have to click on this little edit icon. Now that can be confusing if you're very used to Photoshop, where if you click on a layer, you've activated the layer. In this case, you actually have to click on this icon to activate the layer. So I'm just going to take this down a little bit, maybe bring down the bottom of the curve so it's primarily affecting the highlights. Then I can go back on this one, reactivate that, see how that looks. Kind of like that. Maybe make this even smaller and also take down the overall brightness of this. So something like that. Good. All right, the next thing I want to do is put a star field or a night sky to replace these clouds here. So let's go ahead and add one more layer. And on this one, I want to mask out the sky. So let's go ahead and add a mask. And this one, I'm going to use the Easy Mask. And the way the Easy Mask works is you have these three brushes. This one is used to show what you want inside the mask. So we'll just paint. And this is kind of like a broad strokes. You don't have to be super accurate with this tool because it will generate the mask for you. Next, you need to tell it what is not in the mask. So we'll do that with this brush. And we can just make sure it doesn't include any of this. And then with this little button here, it's going to generate the mask. Now you'll see here that it's generated, but in the preview, I'm not seeing it. You can click on this here and that will show you the mask. So there you go. Now I can zoom in and just see if there's anything I want to clean up. So for example, I might want this inside my mask. So I'll go back to my green brush there. I can adjust the size of that brush here and then just paint in this area here that I want in the mask, as well as this. Oops. I actually want this in the red, so wrong brush. Let's use the outside brush. That's the one I want. And let's regenerate by clicking this again. That's done a better job. Can just kind of clean that right there. And that should do the trick. We can always turn this on and off to see how it's done. This part here really should be not part of the mask. So I'm just going to paint this edge here red and then regenerate one more time. And that works. Now, if you want to turn these off, the only way to do that is click on your filter thumbnail as opposed to your mask thumbnail. That will turn off those so you can actually see what it looks like. And then to turn off the mask view, click on this icon again. All right, so with my mask created, I'm going to go back to the search function and I'm going to put in night. And here you can see my night sky filter. I'm going to click on that and right away you can see it's added these nice stars into my sky. The problem is I don't want the clouds there. I just want the star field. So if I go to parameters and scroll to the bottom here, you can see how it's combining it. Right now it's using a screen blending mode. I'm going to change that to stars only. And now you can see I have my star field. Let's click on this so we can see our whole image. I may want to make the stars a little bit more glowy. So let's increase the star brightness. And maybe just a bit the star size as well. Too much. Let's put it at 20. See how that looks. That looks pretty nice. All right, now the next thing you'll probably notice is that this black is blacker than the black point in my shadows. Generally, when you have a night sky, especially in a scene like this, it's a little bit misty, you're going to have some glow from the city coming into the sky. So we're going to add that next. We'll just add another filter layer here, and I'm going to go back to my lens flare. And in this case, I want to select a lens flare that has mostly just this outside glow. So I'm going to scroll down here. And this one here looks to be kind of what I want. I want a really strong glow, not much of a star. So Here I'm just moving this, and I'm primarily looking at the glow here. I don't care about these because I'm going to turn those off. So I'm going to go into parameters, go to the other, just turn all those down to 0. And now I have just this glow, which is what I want. Now I could make this a little smaller, I think. Probably something like that. Maybe move it just a little bit more over here. And then I'm going to make the color of it, rather than white, I want it to be kind of a cyan-y blue color. Hit OK. Let's see how that looks. That looks really nice. I'm going to take this mask and copy it up to here. And now you can see that's starting to look a little bit more realistic. You can always adjust this to make kind of our black point match. The shadows in here should be darker than the sky. So we have two options here. We can adjust this, make it a little bit bigger to kind of spread that glow in the sky. I could also go back and try to make this darker, but I don't want to do that. I think this looks pretty nice as it is. Next thing I want to do is add a moon. So we're going to add one more layer. And I'm going to go to the search function, and the moon filter is called Luna. So we'll just type that in there and click here. That's going to give us our moon. So let's put the moon right about there. Generally, when you're compositing, you want elements to intersect so that they feel like they're all part of one image and not just pasted on top of each other. All right, so with that in place, we're going to go to parameters. I'm going to change the lunar phase so I have a little more of my moon showing like this, and then kind of rotate it so that it's pointing down toward our city, kind of lighting the street here. All right, next, now, if you don't want to see these overlays because you want to like match color like I want to do now, you can turn them off here. All right, so now I want to match this color closer to the background. So I'm going to pick the color here, just push that a little bit towards cyan. It's already looking better. And the earth glow, which is kind of what's coloring the shadow areas, I'm going to select here, select my little eyedropper, and select the color of the sky here. Hit OK. Let's see how that looks. That's pretty good. Now I want this to be behind this, so we'll just drag this mask, copy that up there. Now we've got it. I do think this should be a little brighter, so let's increase the brightness of our moon. Like so. Maybe take down the contrast a bit. Now we're getting this really nice moon there that really feels like it's lighting this scene. I might want to move it up just a little bit. So let's turn on our center guide there. Something like this looks really nice. Okay, and then the next thing I want to do is kind of spread this light here so that it feels like it's coming out over the whole scene. So what I'm going to do is go down to the lens flare here, and I'm going to click on this, right mouse click, and click on duplicate layer. So now it's made a copy of that layer, and I can drag it by clicking on it and then dragging it up in my filter stack. I'm going to put it at the very top. And let's go ahead and deactivate the mask. I can do that by clicking this icon here. And I want to turn off these here so I can see what this is looking like. I kind of like that. You can see that the light is spreading beyond the point, but I do want to see this should be a little bit lower. So let's zoom in to about there. I'll just move this up just a tiny bit. I think that looks good. And I want to make it bigger, but kind of squashed. So we'll do this and this. I think it's a little too big now. And we'll decrease the brightness of it as well, so it's not quite so bright. All right, let's look at that. That's pretty nice. All right, and then I'm going to do a color grade kind of over the whole thing just so it feels all nice and integrated. So we'll add one more filter on the very top here. I'm going to go to Film Lab and choose Film Stocks. It's a nice way to give your whole image a nice kind of color grade. It also affects the noise in the image. It just makes it all feel like it was taken with a single camera, all one scene. So something like this is quite nice. Maybe the blue's a bit too strong. All these presets have parameters that you can go and adjust. So in here, I can go look at where that blue is coming from, and it's coming from this right here. So this is adding the cyan, the magenta, and the blue. So we'll just take this down a little bit so it's not so strong. Maybe something like that. And then maybe not so much contrast. Also, you can affect how much the entire filter is affecting. So if I want this effect, but I don't want it so strong, I can always go here and affect the amount that it's affecting. Similarly, I can go here. So for example, this is 40%. If this was back to 100, changing this to 40% is going to do the same thing. So those are kind of two options to change the effect that you're getting. So pretty happy with that. Maybe one last thing I'll do is just add a little bit of sharpness to the whole image. Let's click here, type in sharp. And that's just going to give me some more crispiness in these lines. Give it a little bit of a painted effect. I'm pretty happy with that. If we click on this gear here, that's going to apply our filters. And here you can see our daytime scene. And just using optics, we've turned it into a nighttime scene. Now I have saved all these filters as a setup, which you can do up here, File, Save Setup. So I'm going to reset it here and just show you how to load that. We're going to go File, Open Setup, and in the Assets folder for this tutorial, see day to night.optics. If I click on that and open, it's going to apply all those filters in a stack. So if you want to just go through and look at all of them this way, rather than doing it yourself, you can apply that filter setup by clicking on Open Setup. And if you save your own setups, you'll see them in Recent Setups. That's a nice way if you've created a filter stack and you want to use it on a different image, that allows you to do that. Now, in this case, because I have masks, you can't just apply it to another image. You will have to recreate those masks for your other image, but at least you'll have all the steps in there and you can adjust them to your liking. So there you have it. That's how you take a day image and turn it into a night image using only optics. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, leave a like, leave a comment. I do read them all. Also share this video. And again, if you are looking to purchase optics, use the discount code nuclei-25 for a 25% discount. And the discount works for both the annual subscription, the monthly subscription, or the standalone purchase. All right, here's some other videos, tutorials that you can check out. And I will see you next time.